Alright, so this video will be how to swap a natural aspirated 2J out of a right-hand drive car, swap in a VVTI twin turbo engine. I've done a little bit of work to this one, as you can see in my other videos. We did all the top components in wrinkle black, and then nickel plated all of the hardware. Give it a nice contrast. Alright, so to prepare the motor, as you saw in the other videos, had to swap the oil pan to the rear sump oil pan. This made it to where I couldn't use the front sump oil pan drain lines. So the hard pipe coming from the front turbo, and then the hard pipe coming from the rear turbo. So basically I'm going to have to make some adapters. So I got a AN flange for the oil pan, basically what you'd use going to a single turbo setup. I've got a that's to a -10 AN. So I've got a -10 to a 5/8 push lock connector. Have some Parker 5/8 oil compatible hose that you just cut the length, push it on, and then I have got this line from Parker. It's oil compatible, has a 7/8 ID. So this will slide 2 sections of this to go over the hardline portion. Then it'll adapt into some copper fittings, kind of make the shape that I need. A few different options here. Just pick these up at the hardware store. These are 3/4 copper fittings, so the 7/8 hose will fit over these ends, and then this one adapts to a 1/2 inch copper, and that'll fit the ID of the 5/8 push lock hose. Depending if I need a 90 or 45, I'll kind of mock it up, mark it, solder it together, and then test fit it. We'll just trim the hoses to length once we get this adapter made. Alright, so this is what we came up with. I ended up using the 90 fitting, the 1/2 to 3/4 reducing T. I think that's a straight T. And then so we're going to bend this pipe toward us a little bit to get that to align well, and then this rear turbo pipe, it's going to have a bit of an incline. That's not ideal for a drain. It is gravity fed, so it'll pull in the lower section of the hose some there, but it'll definitely drain to the lowest point. This is just going to be a temporary setup until we get the single swap, so as long as it's functional for a couple months, we're good. So I'm going to have this marked so I know the rotation angle. I'm going to take it off, solder it up, and then we'll cut the 7/8 hose to length and kind of roughly test fit everything again, and then see if we can get this finished up. Alright, so just some basic things on soldering copper pieces together. First you want to clean the part, so some sandpaper or steel wool, just to remove any contaminations on the surface and give it some scratches in there, just to give the solder something to hold on to. So since I'm soldering inside of this piece, sand that, and then it'll be outside of this piece. Try to not sand away my markings that I've made for alignment. Get this side a little better. Just like that. Okay, we'll clamp this in the vise, and then put flux on this piece, put them together, rotate it to spread the flux out, and then we'll heat from the bottom, since heat rises, heat this up, and then put the solder in. Again, I'm no expert pipe fitter. Only done this a handful of times, so hopefully it works. Alright, so I've got this basic soldering kit. Comes with a little can of flux, a little brush, and then some lead-free solder. And I'm sure there's some instructions on here on how to, but shouldn't be that bad. And the other thing that you'll need is some sort of torch. And this is just a little propane torch picked up at the same hardware store. It's pretty handy just to keep around the shop. Alright, so we have the flux and the little brush to apply it. So basically we'll take this fitting out, get some flux on the brush, put it on there, a little bit excessive, it's gonna go away. Basically it prevents the metals from oxidizing. Without it, the solder won't pull into the joint, it'll just beat up and run off. With this in there, as it heats up, it'll pull the solder up into the joint, so you get a good connection. Okay, we'll get our marks aligned. Hopefully that stays as we heat it up. Put some gloves on just in case we have to grab it if it starts to rotate or anything. Get the solder ready. Get a little bit of it pulled out. And like I said, we'll turn the torch on, heat from the bottom, and then apply the solder on the bottom, move to the top, and finish the joint. See if I can zoom us in a little bit. Okay. You'll see the flux start to sizzle, and so that basically means that it's ready to go. Yeah, that's what I was afraid of. Tried moving on us there. Okay, so we're gonna check that. We'll rotate this so I can see the other side, and it's probably quite warm. So. Okay. Yep, so it does look like it pulled it in all the way around, but we're gonna do just another little bit just to make sure. Looks pretty good. Okay, we'll let that cool off, and then we'll sand down the excess. Even though this is going to be a drain line, I'm thinking about putting a little bit just on the ends here, or flaring out the ends just a little bit to give the hose clamp something to grab onto. Like I said, these are just gravity drain lines, so they're not going to really see any pressure. So they'll probably be fine as it is, but just like to do a little extra just to make sure. Alright, so a slight miscalculation on my part. So the 3/4 pipe does not fit inside of the Parker hose like I thought. The hose does fit on the engine drain line, so that's good. So I had to run to the store, buy a length of copper tube. It's just the 3/4 tube. So it's slightly smaller OD than the fittings. So basically, we'll solder these in like that, and then it'll give it a length for the hose to slide onto, and then we'll clamp it, and that should take care of it. So we'll do the same thing on these two joints, flux and solder them in, and that should get it. Alright, so we'll let that cool down. Joints look pretty good. Looks like solder pulled in and all sides, so that should be oil tight. We'll let it cool down, and then we'll mock it up with the hoses on there, get everything clamped down, and then install it. Alright, so we got the oil drain lines put together. Turned out pretty decent. I think it'll work. There's a little bit of a low spot, like I had mentioned, from the rear turbo, but it'll drain still. It'll only be on there for a few months till we upgrade to a single, so as long as this gets us by, doesn't leak everywhere, I think it should be good. Alright, so we got the front end pulled apart. Went ahead and took the fenders off. They were aftermarket fiberglass, so pulled the front bumper off also. And to get the fenders off, had to remove the side skirts. So everything looks pretty good. Not much rust, just a little bit of surface rust here and there. Kind of expected from a 25-year-old car that's been sitting on an island all of its life. So tomorrow we will start removing the engine. We'll start with the exhaust, work our way up, disconnect all the hoses and wiring harnesses. Okay, so you want to remove the harness connectors at the ECU. There's also a gray connector that plugs into the fuse box area along with the orange connector. So to get to those, you want to remove the side trim, pull the carpet back. That exposes the ECU. As you know, there's a 10mm bolt that holds the harness into the ECU. There's the orange connector. It has a white safety release on it, so you have to flip that up. And then the gray one plugs in behind the blue one there in the side. And then you can just pull it out of the harness hole. There's two 10mm bolts in the engine compartment that hold the weather seal. So here's the two 10mm bolts that hold the weather seal against the hole there. Alright, and then you want to remove the shifter, so do that by removing the shift knob off the shifter. Then you can get the shift surround plate off. That exposes the shift boot and the grommet. So there's 4 screws holding that. And then there's also 4 screws in the base of the shifter. And then you have to go under the car and then take out this 12mm bolt. And then that frees up the shifter. Alright, so we've got it about ready to come out. Got the nuts off the bottom of the motor mounts. Got the trans mount bolts out. Had the trans mount supported with a floor jack. That'll give me the ability to tilt to get the engine to come out at an angle. Hopefully not smash the condenser. Might go ahead and pull off the fan just to make sure, give us another few inches of clearance. I'm going to pull off the mount assembly on this side just to give us a little more clearance. That's easy enough to get to with the exhaust manifolds off. So. Alright, so there we go. Have the NA on the ground now. I'm going to pull the trans off of it, put a new clutch in it. Got a ACT Extreme performance clutch. Put it on the twin turbo VVTI engine. Definitely got to do some cleanup on the engine bay. So we'll do that, and then we'll drop the turbo motor in.